Hello, and welcome to another episode of Man vs. Violin. You may be wondering why I'm dressed like a waiter in an episode of Columbo. Actually, this very fancy jacket is to commemorate my 200th day of consecutive violin practicing. Today is week 28, day 200 of Man vs. Violin. 200 days ago today, I picked up the violin for the first time, and I've managed to practice every day since then. I've managed to practice on days that I was sick. I've practiced on days when my house was getting flooded. I've practiced on days coming home from working lots of overtime. But still, I managed to practice every day. Why? Because that's what Paganini would do. So today, to commemorate this auspicious day, I'd like to play some selections that I've been working on. The first one is from the Suzuki book, and it's Minuet number 1. Not to be confused with Minuet number 2, which is on the next page. But Minuet number 1 from Suzuki. Minuet number 1. Now the next selection I'd like to play today is from Mel Bay. So the Mel Bay book is the book that came with my violin, my little Cecilio violin that I got 200 days ago. And this was the first book that I started practicing. And it has a lot of good selections in it. So I continue to work on this book along with the Suzuki book. But from the Mel Bay book, this is Lavender's Blue. And for those of you following along intently with your book, it's on page 14. Lavender's Blue, which is ironic because I'm wearing red. So, as I mentioned, today is day 200 of playing the violin. 201 days ago, I had never touched a violin before. Some of the things that I've learned over the last 200 days, learning a new instrument, is that progression sometimes is slow, but not to give up. For example, if you've watched any of the previous videos, you know that there's a part in Etude from the Suzuki book that has been particularly challenging to me. I'm now at the point where I can play that part a lot cleaner than I could. And I would say that 80% of the time I play etude, I can do it well enough without making mistakes. But there's still 20% of the time that I find myself having a difficult time with that piece. But I would say that the violin is a very humbling instrument because you can hear your mistakes very clearly. Even the slightest off fingering either sounds really screechy or will produce a note that's either sharp or flat from where you want to be because the finger spacings are so narrow. So it's an instrument that I think that if you start, give yourself time to improve on this. I've learned other instruments. I'm primarily a bass player. After 200 days of bass playing, I was much farther along than I am 200 days violin playing. Another thing that I would say is that it's taken me, it was right around the 180-day mark that I started to feel that the violin wasn't a completely foreign object to my body. So what I mean by that is when you play an instrument, the instrument itself should feel like an extension of your body. You shouldn't really be aware that you're holding an instrument or manipulating an instrument. And it's taken me about 180 days where I'm starting to feel that. So right around 20 days ago, I finally started to not really notice that the violin was there, or not really notice that I'm holding the bow. I was able to focus more on making the sounds rather than having an awareness that the instrument is there. So I think that's probably the biggest step in the last, since day 100. Between day 100 and now, I think probably the biggest thing that's advanced has been that. The feeling that the instrument is more a natural extension of my body rather than something that's placed on my shoulder. I'm still hitting a lot of off notes, but if you notice that I've never used any tape on my fingerboard because I'm trying to train my ear to hear sharps and flats and notes where they should be. I think that's been working well for me, but I'm not saying don't use tape. I'm saying for me, because I have experience with musical instruments in the past, it's been a good decision. So that's one thing you might notice about this violin, that it doesn't have tape. And if you look at all the older videos, I've never used the tape. So day 200 of Man versus Violin. I'm going to celebrate by drinking a little Trader Joe's non-dairy chocolate oat beverage. And what's next? Well, I'm going to try to make it to day 300. I'm going to try to, that's probably the next milestone, is day 300. And if I can get to day 300, maybe try and work on a full year. But that's still far along in the future. So today, I celebrate 200 days of playing the violin every day. And tomorrow, I'll pick up the violin again for day 201. Thank you.